This is a story I never thought I'd be telling, something that still gives me chills to this day. It happened during my senior year of high school, and even though I've tried to move on, I can't forget the feeling of sheer helplessness. It was a typical Wednesday afternoon in late November. The kind of day where the dreary weather matched everyone's mood: gray skies, a light drizzle, and a biting chill in the air. I was in English class, seated in the back near the window, half listening to my teacher drone on about Shakespeare while secretly scrolling through my phone under the desk. My best friend, Jenna, nudged me and whispered, "Do you think we're getting snow this weekend?" I shrugged, more focused on the Instagram feed I was mindlessly swiping through. The classroom buzzed with the usual low chatter of students not paying attention, but everything changed in an instant. The PA system crackled to life, and the principal's voice came through. His tone was firm, almost urgent, as he said, "Attention all teachers and students. We are now in a lockdown. This is not a drill. Please secure your classrooms immediately." For a moment, the room froze. The light-hearted whispers stopped, and every single person turned their attention to the intercom. Our teacher, Mrs. Harper, usually calm and collected, moved quickly to lock the door and turn off the lights. Her face was pale, her hands shaking slightly as she gestured for us to move to the far corner of the room, away from the door and windows. We huddled together, the air thick with tension. Someone muttered, "What's going on?" but nobody had an answer. All we could do was sit there, waiting in the suffocating silence. Minutes passed, though it felt like hours. The only sounds were the occasional shuffle of feet or the muffled sobs of the girl next to me. Then, faintly at first, we heard it, the sound of footsteps echoing down the hallway. The steps were slow, deliberate, almost too calm for the situation. A chill ran down my spine as they grew louder, closer. Whoever it was, they weren't in a hurry. It was as if they wanted to be heard. The footsteps stopped outside our classroom door. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. Then came the knock. It wasn't a polite knock, like someone asking to come in. It was hard, relentless, like they were testing the door's strength. "Open up," a voice growled from the other side. It was low, gruff, and unfamiliar. Nobody moved. Nobody even breathed. The knocking turned into pounding. I said, "Open up," the voice roared, followed by a heavy thud, as if the person was kicking the door. One of the girls let out a muffled scream, and Mrs. Harper put a finger to her lips, silently pleading for us to stay quiet. The pounding continued, each hit reverberating through the room, making my stomach churn. Then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The silence that followed was deafening. We waited, straining to hear any sign of movement. Finally, the footsteps resumed, fading down the hallway. Relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. From somewhere farther down the hall, there was a loud crash, followed by the sound of glass shattering. Someone whispered, "What the hell is happening?" but none of us had an answer. After what felt like an eternity, the PA system crackled again. This time, it was the voice of Mr. Jacobs, the assistant principal. "Students and staff, the situation is under control. Please remain in lockdown until further notice." Under control? What did that even mean? We didn't move from our corner, too afraid to risk it. It wasn't until nearly an hour later that the all-clear was finally given, and we were allowed to leave the classroom. The hallways were chaotic. Students crying, teachers trying to calm everyone down, and police officers stationed at every exit. It wasn't until later that we learned what had happened. Apparently, a man had entered the school through a side door that had been left propped open. He wasn't a student, a parent, or even staff, just some random guy off the street. No one knew how long he'd been wandering the halls before the lockdown was initiated. Rumors started flying almost immediately. Some said he was armed, others claimed he was just mentally unstable. The truth? He'd been carrying a crowbar and had smashed a trophy case near the gym. When confronted by a teacher, he'd fled the scene and disappeared into the nearby woods before the police could catch him. For weeks, the incident was all anyone could talk about. Every detail was dissected, every rumor blown out of proportion. Some kids swore they'd seen him lurking around the school before, while others insisted he'd threatened someone with the crowbar. As for me, I couldn't shake the memory of his voice, that menacing growl as he demanded to be let in. I started having nightmares about it, waking up in a cold sweat with the sound of his pounding echoing in my ears. The school installed new security measures after that: cameras, automatic locks, and stricter policies about keeping doors closed. But no amount of security could erase the fear that lingered in the back of our minds. Even now, years later, I still think about that day. About how close we came to something much worse. And about the man who walked into our school, bringing chaos and fear with him. I like to believe he was caught, that he got the help he clearly needed. But part of me wonders if he's still out there somewhere, waiting for his next opportunity. And that thought is enough to send shivers down my spine all over again.